I want to make this video so I can make it very clear about what's going on with Miguel um, in this situation that happened. Literally, I'm 39 years old now. So you're making me pass gas. I just heard them close the door just a second ago. You can see how on cue what they're doing, but I want to say that they let Miguel and Diana and Mickey live in that house. Mickey benefited off of them not going to the streets for raping my brother and affecting my mother and me. And how many other guys came along and raped my brother Frankie and myself, got affected and poisoned with my mother. My mother being slapped and hit and dropped. And how this all boils down to not just Miguel making that action and raping my brother in front of me, but the fact that Ken Cooper and Sarah Cooper were directly involved and didn't say or do anything intentionally because they wanted to go ahead and keep my mother and our family affected and didn't wanted to give him a free coupon to get whatever he wants. I want to make this very clear because I already talked about the video and details about this raping that happened. And I want to say that it was always in my mind and I didn't understand why Frankie didn't tell me directly, and I could see why he didn't want to tell me. But he used to always say, man, fuck that piece of shit, motherfucker. He used to say, fuck him. And he used to get tears in his eyes when he would walk by. And the fact that he had done this. And what he thought of Diana, he knew, Diana is a transgender. And all these transgenders wanted to defend that piece of shit who knocked out my mother. And I'm telling you right now, I am so puzzled in the idea that why would he make things worse other than to make things worse because he knows he can get away with it with Diana? Why would you show up to the funeral? Why would you show up to the funeral and all three of us don't even get a proper funeral for my burial of my father? Why would you show up? Why would Sarah Cooper not start laughing in front of everyone? They just shut this door just a second ago and it electrocuted my chest. I want to tell you this because it's not Miguel so much of whatever mental disoriented he may be or whatever it's going on. It's these homosexuals that are protecting and defending and treasuring him because they want to allow him to live a treasurable life and get away with it because he's gay and he's part of the transgender and gay community. That is why. And that's why I'm making this video, because it's them and the community that's coming after me and doing this and did it for so many years then that they want to continue doing it. And the reason is he showed up. I have no idea why he would show up to that funeral. You're spitting in my dad's face in front of his dead body. His casket is open, so you could take a look at my dad's dead body. You raped his son and affected and slapped his wife, and you fucking acted like a friend the whole fucking time. And you show up to the funeral to let you know that you gave it to fucking Frankie and you had me giving oral sex. And then President Barack Obama now wants to protect and defend him because it's transgender movement now for the black niggas and it's just a better movement for the No. I want to say this. I cannot express the horrors that laid into so many years into this. I'll go into a different discussion why President Barack Obama showed up. And he did this to have me murdered, to eventually use me and staple me to where he wanted and laid me used for a landmine. That's why he threatened me several times at Albertsons, at McDonald's where I met Michael Jackson, and he charged at me with Michelle, and this was why. And I want to make sure that I say this because when this happened with Miguel, I moved out of my house, and I never saved this information, be like, okay, activate it now. Like, that the homosexuals and all the gay community is trying to figure out how to sabotage me and how to be able to defend Miguel raping Frankie and getting away with it, and said it was all the gay community. And it is all the gay community protecting him and treasuring the fact that he was able to get away with it and can allow him and to live in that house. This motherfucker lives in a $150,000 house, 3-bedroom house, with a dog and a wife and a kid. His kid moved out when I was like 18 or like when I was like 16. I was like 16. I was like 16 when the kid moved out. They're living comfortable in a nice home, nice bed, dog. They get to walk their dog to own two cars. They get to have jobs and work. They own that house. And I wanted to make this video about this. That for that whole time he was able to stay comfortable and still go to the penitentiary for 20 years and let everybody know that you like fucking little kids and you like getting away with it. And I'm going to tell you how you're going to get away with it. I had to sit and hit that family flowers because there's gay community and these electronic devices don't want to stop. And he's the leader, and that family's the leader to so much of this because they're using the church and the crucifix to just get whatever. This has nothing to do. They just want to be able to get away with murder, killing, and the horrors of what they had done. That's all it is. And there's groups that are doing it for them and including them. I feel bad for Mickey because Mickey was a good kid. They threw this on him. So as far as this goes with this situation, I have to say this because he showed up to that funeral. He had no remorse. I mean, there was nothing when I approached him and told him, I had no idea that this had happened. I had these images and I'm like, and I was nervous because I felt like I had remember seeing him do this. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why? And I was so young because you got to understand, Frankie was being groomed as a little child for so many years. And they were so precise on how Diana was training my mother and my dad. And they were listening and spying every corner and every existence of our house. My mom was having her dead child flop up and down, with Down syndrome and being made fun of and laughing at her. Oh, they go to church every Sunday. They're laughing at that dead little girl. No, it's about time to throw it on Ken Cooper. I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. The reason they showed up to the funeral was because of Ken and Sarah Cooper. They're getting the inside information about everything. They found out that Julian had an identical twin before Julian reunited with that twin. They found out that that little girl was because Mickey's the one that told me. He didn't tell me. He just was walking one day and he said, "You know who that is? That's your daughter." Like he didn't say, and he was very depressed because he was like, that little girl is dying and she has Down syndrome. I mean, there's nothing that nobody can do. That's your sister right over there. And he didn't say this. He just pointed over to me and he goes, dude, he's like, that's your sister. Like, he didn't say you're sick. He didn't say anything. He just looked like, he didn't say anything. He was dribbling the basketball and then he turned around like sad, like he didn't know what to do. Miguel and Diana were making fun of my mom when that little girl was walking all over the place. It was despicable to show you how Barack Obama is a murderer. He is not who say who he is. He's using me for murder and he's using his gay community for leverage. And if there's a dream makeover's house being built for me, he wants to use that as an exchange that his laser beams and all this suffering that's going on is going to be made for purpose for him to shit in my mouth and shit in my mother's mouth. And I was yelling inside that library in Congress that President Barack Obama is dragging my dead sister's topic around all over, up and down the halls, wherever the fuck he wants. And I'm talking about that this is, I'm not trying to rabbit trail with this, but this is what's going on. Miguel, when I was 20, I have no remember. We buried my dad, and about 2 years later, about 2 years later, I need to go to AutoZone. And I go to AutoZone. And I go to AutoZone to like do my oil changes and spark plugs and whatnot. Small maintenance so I can save some money on my car and get the better quality stuff as well. And I go and I see Miguel there. And I know Miguel had been working there. You know how long Miguel got that job? He started working at AutoZone parts over on the Beltline in Josie in Carrollton, Texas. And it's still there to my knowledge. Last time I went there, it's still there. And I went there and I saw him over at the cashier. And he was one of those people that stand up at the computer and it's just like, okay, what do you need? And I approached him and he was very scared when he saw me. And he was just like, he knew he was me and then he pretended like he was doing something else. And I just stood there and I waited and he brings back like a part. And then he wouldn't really make eye contact with me. He wouldn't make eye contact with me. And I'm friendly. I'm so friendly to him because I have no idea what's going on. And I go, hey, how's it going, Miguel? You doing all right? He goes, how's it going, Miguel? You know, because remember, they're good people, and they just shot me on my laser beam. Do you see what they just did? And he's sitting in front of the computer, and I begin talking to him, and he can tell my vibe is very comfortable, and I'm like, oh, okay, how's it going? Yeah, I'm working over at Standard Register. I've been working for a couple years, got a pretty good job, and yeah, I just came here to get my oil change, get a few different parts for my car, windshield wipe, whatever. I'm just like, casual, like, oh, that's just the local Miguel at the auto shop or auto parts. And when I get there, he's like, doesn't really want to make any eye contact. He's just looking at the computer screen, like he's just trying to avoid me, kind of. And then he's like noticing as I'm talking, he does this and he goes, like he has a grin, like he doesn't know, yeah, like he doesn't know, like. And so I can tell by looking at him, he's thinking about the people, of all the people that's going around, that he may think that I was the one going telling everyone, and it wasn't. He found out that, hey, it was a bunch of other people that were doing it. Because when I'm talking to him, he can tell. And he senses a relief. He goes like this, and he's on the computer, and he goes, yeah, I got away with it, yeah. Like, and I don't know what he means, because I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'm like, why is he doing that? Like relieved, like he got away or something. And I don't know. And I just get some items and I go ahead and leave. And I show back up there two or three times. I have to get a few of the things through net between I'm living in my apartment. And when I go there, the employees are protecting him, and they look at me. None of these people should know who I am. Nobody should know who I am. And I get there, and the employees are looking at me like angry, like, no, Miguel can do what he wants. He's a good guy now, yeah. So he can rape wherever I don't know that this is happening, that he's raping. That's just what they're doing. Yeah, he can rape anybody wants. He can rape a little kid and get away with it. He's changed with the church, and he's changed with, he's Miguel. He made a boo. He's part of the gays. I'm not kidding you. This is exactly how I behave, and I'm behaving like, and I'm thinking to him like, what the fuck you want from me? It's like, what do you want what the hell are you doing there? You don't even know him. I know this guy longer than you have. He's lived my house, a couple houses down for 20 years. Who the fuck are you? And I wanted to say this. The reason he showed up as well at that funeral is because he's now going to be used to cover up for Ken Cooper, knowing and Sarah Cooper that they knew. So he's going to be willing to take all the blame for it, and they're going to use this as a chess piece to clean up that bullshit. Clean up what Ken Cooper had done and Sarah Cooper had done, and Kenneth from the radio station at 97.9 The Beat with the black niggas. I want to make sure that this is very clear. This person never went to prison. But worst of all things is that Ken Cooper knew about it and defended him and gave him a coupon to say, don't worry about it. You can go ahead and fucking rape him in the ass and do what you want. This Ken Cooper, the white supremacy cowboy, he puts a bunch of bad people away, but yeah, he can choose that one to get raped. And when Dad died, and when I went to that house, I noticed that he was acting defensive toward Miguel. This piece of shit is setting things up, and he put me, Frankie, Julian in the car, driving us around, and are showing us all these fancy houses. Remember, dream makeover home, dream makeover houses. His family knew from the minute that it happened. When I met Michael Jackson, whenever that time, before and right after I met Michael Jackson and his family, he knew, and he denied my father. He even gave my dad a gun. He even would say, let's go to Las Vegas and go win a bunch of money. This is what he did. This is a true story. The screams it laid over for him never, if he had reported this to the police and been a real detective and a real police officer, my sister would have been in the proper care. Julian would have been uncovered, his identical twin. The family would have been more safe, and he would have gone to prison. But you know what they were doing to me? Just last week, I was in downtown Denver, and there was a police officer doing this. Laughing, because I was having to give oral sex and get raped, and watch my brother get raped. And he was sending someone that looked like Julian to come threaten me. That's the behavior that I'm talking about. They're in a right to justify Ken Cooper. Miguel's going to be used as a weapon to cover up for Sarah and Ken Cooper.